What are the Denver Broncos' plans for addressing the quarterback position after cutting Russell Wilson and what now is the NFL's biggest dead cap hit in history at $85 million? They don't really have a lot of options out there because your cap situation with what you just did to Russell Wilson isn't going to allow you to get a guy like a Kirk Cousins or a Baker Mayfield because they're going to be asking for a lot of money that you're not going to have the ability to give them. So your next best option is you go out there and you get you a Jameis Winston who Sean Payton already has familiarity with when Jameis Winston started a few games for him his final season in New Orleans, and he led New Orleans to a 5-1 record. He had a 14-4 touchdown interception ratio that season. And if you pick him up in Denver, he will probably be the best quarterback you could get for a low-end contract because you're not going to bring back Russell Wilson, who probably is going to sign for a veteran minimum. Maybe you look at a guy like Sam Darnold, but with Jameis Winston already having familiarity with Sean Payton's system, it just would make sense for Sean Payton to bring back Jameis Winston to his offense. You do got Jarrett Stidham, and you may ask, well, what makes Jameis Winston better than Jarrett Stidham? Jameis Winston pushes the football downfield. And Jameis Winston is the first round pick, and that talent still gets showed when he is in the ball game. The problem is he turns the football over way too damn much. But when he's playing under Sean Payton seems to be the only head coach who has the cheat codes to knowing how to lower Jameis Winston's turnover numbers, to get Jameis Winston playing at a more efficient level. So Denver, if you sign Jameis Winston, that doesn't mean you're committing to him long term to being your quarterback. He's just the best starting caliber QB you can get on the market right now for a low price because you don't have a lot of money to allocate to getting a big name on the market. And there only are two big name QBs right now, which are Baker and Kirk Cousins. And Tampa may bring back Baker, and Kurt may go back to Minnesota or even Atlanta, but you're not going to have enough money to get into a bidding war with those teams, which is why Jameis Winston makes sense. In terms of drafting a quarterback in this year's draft, you're picking 12. So unless you plan on finding a way to trade up into the top 10 or top 5, you're possibly not going to be able to draft the Jaden Daniels, Bo Nix, or maybe not even Drake May, and definitely not Caleb Williams. So that probably leaves you in contention for either Michael Penix, J.J. McCarthy. Bo Nix may be there, but with how much interest the Giants seem to have in taking a quarterback this year, I don't see Bo Nix falling past 10. The Broncos, if they want to get one of the better QBs in this draft, you're going to have to trade into the top 10. And you don't really have the assets to do that. Denver is in a really bad spot this year. Because at 12, you could get Michael Penix, but Michael Penix with the medical concerns, you don't really know if it's worth the risk. Now, if you draft him in the second round, or a guy like Spencer Rattler in the second round, that could be a good option for you. Or if you take J.J. McCarthy 12th overall, because he definitely could be there. I don't see him getting drafted in the top 10, but with how much praise he's getting from front office executives and NFL scouts, I don't really think it's a question that he pretty much could be viewed as a lock for the first round. And since he comes from an NFL offense that Jim Harbaugh ran at Michigan, the Denver Broncos, you're going to be getting a quarterback that, yeah, he can sit for a year, but it's not like he's going to have to wait 2-3 years, and it's going to take so much time for him to be ready to take over the mantle as QB1, because I don't really think he's as raw as what everybody makes him out to be. He only needs one more year of college. He's not going to get that, so that just means he can make up for that by sitting on the bench. And you remember what people said about Anthony Richardson last year. People said around this time that Anthony Richardson was super raw and he wanted to be day one material, and look how fast he developed. He was starting week 1, opening weekend. We can see the same story maybe with J.J. McCarthy going to a guy like Sean Payton. Sean Payton is one of the best offensive minds in NFL history. And let's knock off this nonsense trying to make it seem like Drew Brees carries Sean Payton. You guys do know that Sean Payton has a winning record without Drew Brees being a starter, right? Before Sean Payton arrived in Denver, Russell Wilson was garbage. Sean Payton came back and made that dude look somewhat serviceable. And everybody's trying to make it seem like Russell Wilson was the hero in this situation. No, he wasn't the problem, but I don't think he was part of the solution neither, which is why they were willing to take an $85 million dead cap hit, the largest in NFL history, to get rid of him. Sean Payton is a great offensive mind. His final season in New Orleans, he had Jameis Winston cooking. I'm not really worried about who he decides to draft. If there was any coach that I would trust to develop J.J. McCarthy into a good or elite quarterback in this league, it would be Sean Payton and maybe a handful of other coaches. You're in good hands with Sean Payton. Like, stop buying into this media sob story that people want to give for Russell Wilson. Russell Wilson was one of the highest paid quarterbacks in the league, and he didn't play up to that. He was getting just as much money. Does it piss you off how much you pay for your monthly phone bill? Why are you getting frustrated when our partner Mint Mobile has plans as low as $15 a month that give you unlimited talk and text on the nation's largest 5G network? Stop getting frustrated with how much you spend on your monthly phone bill and go to trymintmobile.com/JT Sports and description and pin comment down below to get access to premium wireless for only $15 a month. That's only $15 a month. Switching to Mint is easy. It only takes 15 minutes to do. If you're pissed off with how much you pay for your monthly phone bill, switch to Mint Mobile today and go to trymintmobile.com/JT Sports in description and pin comment down below to get premium wireless for only $15 a month. Stop getting upset with how much you spend on your monthly phone bill and switch to Mint Mobile today. On a yearly basis, at Patrick Mahomes, Josh Allen, and all of the other top quarterbacks in the league, and he never looked like a top quarterback. He only looked as good as what he did because of Sean Payton and the system that he was able to build around what Russell Wilson was still able to do effectively at this stage of his career, which isn't that much. And another possibility that I know a lot of you people are probably not going to like, but I definitely could see happening, maybe Denver doesn't get a quarterback in this year's draft that they really like that much. You roll with Jameis Winston for this year or another vet, and you just try to put yourself in position to maybe tank for Shedeur Sanders next season. And it makes a lot of sense because he's only right down the street. You're going to be able to watch more Shedeur Sanders this season than anybody else because they're playing in Boulder. And Deion Sanders, there's a lot of high expectations that's going to come from that being his dad. But if there's anybody who I think is built to handle the kind of pressure and attention that's going to come from, his dad being one of the greatest, most notable athletes of all time, it definitely is Shedeur Sanders. And if he was in this year's draft class, I think he undoubtedly would be the second best QB behind Caleb Williams. He's NFL ready right now with just how well he's able to go through his reads, his progressions, and how accurately he throws the football. So I want to be against the Denver Broncos taking for Shedeur Sanders because I rather tank for a quarterback that I know is actually going to hit and actually be able to solve my lingering quarterback issue that I've dealt with ever since Peyton Manning retired, then go ahead and try to swing and miss with a quarterback that I don't really have a lot of interest in and just trying to force myself to get a QB just because I feel like I need to draft a quarterback. If there's not a quarterback that the Broncos really believe can turn into that franchise guy, then they might as well just go ahead and mail it in and try to get Shedeur Sanders next year because that's more of a safer option at quarterback than just wasting the first round pick on a quarterback this year and you got to reset again next year. It just doesn't make sense. You're not really going to be doing too much anyway with your salary cap situation. So I'm pretty sure you Broncos fans don't expect to make the playoffs next year, especially with how tough the division is going to be. So with the fact that you're in this much of a cap struggle, you might as well just prepare to tank for Shedeur Sanders. You have not been able to address the quarterback position for nearly a decade. Why not just go ahead and tank for a safer option and get in Shedeur Sanders and finally put to rest your quarterback woes and address that situation next year. You know, you just roll with Jameis Winston or a vet for 2024, and then you draft Shedeur Sanders next year. Hopefully you're bad enough. You should be able to. And with Sean Payton, Shedeur Sanders should have the Denver Broncos in a potential situation where they could compete for Super Bowls again. You know, I don't think that's a crazy scenario to throw out there. So this is what I think the Broncos' next moves should be at quarterback, or what I think they possibly could do. And with how bad the quarterback position has been for this team, going from Paxton Lynch to Drew Lock, the Brock Osweilers of the world, them taking for Shedeur Sanders, y'all don't think that wouldn't be a good idea if they can't land any elite quarterback out of this class?